More now on Standard Chartered settlement with the New York financial regulator. Mariam is here.
Fiona, thank you very much indeed. Yes, as you've been hearing, Standard Chartered has agreed to pay a penalty of £217 million after being accused by US regulators of hiding details of transactions for Iranian organisations. The New York Department of Financial Services has issued the penalty. Well, let's talk to Chris Roebuck. He's professor at the Cass Business School and joins me now from our Central London studio. It's a pretty expensive way for Standard Chartered to move on from this, but it's a fair price to pay, really, considering the amount of money we saw wiped off its share price last week.
It's actually a fairly expedient outcome for everybody concerned. I think it was quite interesting in terms of the comments from Standard Chartered about, we certainly didn't do this, and the slightly emotional comments from a regulator in New York saying, oh yes, you jolly well did, and the fact that there were whispers from at least 4 other US regulators who were looking at the Iran issue, who potentially thought that they were all going to move together, who got somewhat blindsided by this new organisation.
And of course, the big fear, Chris, wasn't it, for Standard Chartered, at least for the 160-year-old bank, that it's have its New York licence removed, which could have cost it even more, couldn't it, really?
Yes. To be honest, the total level of business done by Standard Chartered in the US and in Europe is maybe 20%, and the rest of it is done in Asia. The issue is, though, that when you make a payment in dollars, eventually that money has to end up going through the US and primarily New York. So if you lose that license, it means that you are restricted in the way you can do business in dollars, and most people around the world do business in dollars. The other thing that we need to remember is that for those of the audience that are saying, hang on, how can Standard Chartered be a British bank? We don't see any branches, is that it's headquartered in UK, but the branches are in Asia.
I mean, let's look back at what exactly Standard Chartered has been accused of doing here, because as you're talking about, the key element here is dollar-denominated deals and the fact that it's been accused of not declaring these deals in the US, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's a quite complex situation, but to explain it simply, at that point in time, it was perfectly legal for anybody who wanted to do business with Iran to do so, unless they were in the United States. And there it was illegal. So that was the difficulty for global banks, to make sure that there were no payments that went through the US. However, there was the ability for Iranians to do business via dollars and via New York, provided it was not directly related to a payment in or out of Iran. And this is the issue that Standard Chartered and the regulator had. The regulator was saying, I'm sorry, the payments that you made were directly related to Iran, and Standard Chartered was saying they weren't at that particular point in time. Now, any payment to Iran is illegal in the US.
OK, Chris Roebuck, good to get an explanation there and good to get your point of view. Chris Roebuck there from the Cass Business School. Thank you very much indeed.